You know, so I've been to the crop circles in England. Do you know what those are?
Yes,
Patterns in
yes, that's amazing.
It's totally amazing and totally unexplainable, and I think they're not made by humans. I'm 99% sure. I can't say I'm 100% because I haven't seen them made in person, but these are patterns that some greater consciousness is imparting to the earth and to the people on earth in order to cognize new realities by looking at these patterns of...
And some of the buildings that was built.
The old temples.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old
Indonesia. There's a whole bunch of temples that we have absolutely no idea how we got there.
Right, we don't know how they got there, but...
Or what type of machinery they didn't have to be able to carry that's beyond manpower to do.
The Great Pyramids.
Right.
Like, but I'm sure those old temples in Indonesia are based on sacred geometry.
Yes.
You know, I'm sure they are, because all the great temples are based on sacred geometry. And sacred geometry, which I have done shows about, is how we resonate to something deeper in ourselves.
So do you think the new reality is also meant like by words, or do you think that it also with symbols?
Absolutely with symbols, yes. Symbols are even come before the words, you know. Symbols are direct transmissions to our right brain. We have, you know, the left and right brain.
Right.
The left brain thinks of the world in words, and the right brain is with symbols and direct knowing. So symbols impact us first, like the symbols of the crop circles. They impact us to open up to these new ideas. Whether or not we're conscious of these new ideas, a seed is planted. And that's all I'm trying to do, is plant a seed into something new.
Plant a seed in someone else's soul to learn something new.
Yeah.
So Alan, tell us more about before your new realities.
Well, that's good. Thank you for asking that, because it's been a journey getting to this idea about this program. I came to New York City and I was interested in the art scene, the avant-garde art scene, and avant-garde was what was new, what was the...
That's why you know so much about art.
That is, because I think artists really motivate us. So I am an artist. I mean, I think creativity, and this is also part of activating those new ideas, pulling out the creative potential inside all of us. We're all artists, we're all creative beings. The fact that we have dreams opens us up to these ideas of creativity that are deep in us. So I came to New York after college and did a lot of photography, but I never had enough money for new films, for a new roll of film. So what I would do is take a roll and then would rewind it and take a picture again on the same roll of film.
Wow.
And so I get these very interesting double exposures, you know? And then I remember hearing somebody say, two things can't exist in the same place at the same time. But then I would look at these pictures and I was saying, well, look, there are two things existing in the same place at the same time, actually creating a third thing. And I just got this idea of intersecting realities from these photographs that I was taking. And these new realities were being created in photography, and I can show you some of my images that helped inspire me, then going from photography to video to ideas to concepts to people that were bringing in the things people said weren't possible. It started with art and photography and expanded out there.
So who are the people that in your journey kind of guide you into who you are now?
Well, that's also a great question. Thank you for asking that. So with this idea, these new realities, I started to have different experiences, out-of-body experiences, and I was looking for teachers that could explain what was going on, or books. And a lot of people in the 80s were following the guru type of thing, and I never wanted to do the guru trip following someone else. So I looked for teachers that I didn't have to follow or wear their picture. So channeling was a big thing in the early 80s when I was looking for kind of spiritual avenues to kind of open up and confirm my experiences. So I met a bunch of channels. Ramtha, who's this 35,000-year-old Atlantean warrior, and you would sit in this audience with this being, and this woman would go into like a trance or leave her body, and this other being would come through, which is totally It is.
I mean, at that time, right?
It's still that way.
But the information was still good.
The information was amazing. Very high truth for me. It resonated on the soul level. And when I had a one-to-one contact, it was like I felt transformed. I realized I was more than just my body. We have a body, but there was a spiritual reality that I consciously became aware of that was transforming. So that was a big part. That was an opening, because what I considered impossible, like a non-physical consciousness, channeling, that whole idea, suddenly became a possibility. And when that door opened, lots of doors opened to the whole metaphysical history of not just the Eastern traditions, which everyone's aware, but the Western traditions, the Theosophical Society, Alice Bailey and her group, Rudolf Steiner, the occult wisdom, Hermetic philosophy, the ancient Egyptians, the Hermetic tradition. There's a whole school of Western mysticism that I think we've ignored. Kabbalah. These are Western traditions that are just as great as the Eastern traditions and just as mystical. And actually, somehow we're more connected to, in the West, I think, because I think science, chemistry grew out of alchemy, and astronomy grew out of astrology. So what we embrace today is just the surface of these deeper traditions, and that all became very apparent to me when I started this spiritual journey, that there were deeper realities that affect us that we're have ignored.
But see, I mean, weren't you scared though? I mean, like you just out of body experience, because you know nothing at that point, right? You know nothing, and all of a sudden your body's going, or your soul's going to another la la land, or whatever we want to call it. But I mean, somehow in your old self, there must be some terrifying thought, or like
some people are scared with their first out of body experiences.
You were never scared.
You know why? I think my actual journey started when I was really young. I had a hard time falling asleep as a child. I remember like 2 or 3 years old. And just telling to myself, okay, I'll close my eyes and just stare straight ahead. And I used to get this like white light, vision when I was really young, like 2 and 3 years old, because I just was so hyper as a child. I put that all into like this kind of meditation that I taught myself. So that opened my consciousness to be more expanded. So when I had an out-of-body experience, it wasn't that weird for me.
It was like your childhood memory.
Yeah, it's like I was been preparing for it. So other people are freaked out because suddenly they realize that they're not in their bodies. I had like UFO type experiences. Those were a little weird though. Those were.
But again, your UFO experience. But how do you recommend people to journal it? Because,
definitely journal it. Yeah.
Because the concept is so fast and so quick, and the symbols, and you don't get the symbols, and what if you don't have your friends in your journey yet? And what do you recommend people to cope?
Well, that's why I do my show, because the more this information is out there in the public.
When is your show?
My show's Monday night on 9 p.m. Channel 57. But I do my show so people can start to hear about these ideas. So when they do have an experience, there's a reference.
It's not so weird.
It's like, oh, I heard that on the weird show I listened to.
Weird person in this world.
And maybe there's some truth to this.
Comforting.
Yeah, it is comforting. So the more we share, like your experiences, you're a therapist and you've had spiritual and psychic experiences, but you probably keep a lot of it to yourself.
Usually. It's not something, people usually get.
But we need to come out.
That's right.
And share it so other people can start to share what they are, instead of putting in a little box of weird, and then they can start to say, oh, this happened to me, and this happened to me. And then we start to change the culture that way. And that's what's so exciting for me. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah. So you recommend people to do a journal?
Definitely journal, or just
watch your show, and so that
or go to my website, newrealities.com.
Besides just people, what other messages do you think that people get?
We have a greater facility inside us that we have been aware of, that we've been educated to know. And there's ways of tapping into who we really are on a much deeper level by listening to the inner voice, by meditating, by being open to possibilities. Those are the elements that I'm really looking for. It's not so much the guests, it's what those guests infuse.
And listening to the signals and the guidance.
And trusting your intuition and guidance. Many people get guidance and they just say, oh, what is that?
So the guidance, like never throw a vase at somebody. Would you follow that guidance?
Well, I don't know what that means. That's probably just simple. But other things like, oh, you get a pull to go someplace, or you to meet somebody, or to go into a restaurant for whatever reason. You see, a lot of this doesn't make sense to the logical mind. We have to override sometimes, not always. You don't want to jump off a building,
right, of course.
But you have to trust there's an inner knowing and something that is beyond the left brain ego personality. The ego is always trying to look for logical ways of doing things. And this other spiritual awareness, there's sometimes no logic. There's no rationale until later on you say, oh, I went there because I met this person and this happened and this and this and this. And it's all for our evolution. So it's trusting who we are, who you are.
Which is your mission.
Which is all our missions,
all our
really.
Missions. Like if everyone followed their own missions.
Yes, we'd be happy, healthy.
And more peaceful.
And peaceful. More in harmony. Those are the elements I'm trying to bring forth. Well, the reality of consciousness is that that's all there is. That is actually the only reality. And that comes through a kind of sensorial interchange with awareness. So what do we feel really is the new reality. How are we feeling as we interact with other people? We have to pay more attention to these signals inside of us. The
inner voice, the silence sometimes.
But the feelings that may actually not have words. That is how I think the greater consciousness speaks to us. It's not just words or voices. It's something beyond that. It's what I call feelings, not in the big emotional sense like sadness and anger. Those are feelings, right. But the subtleties of awareness. This is what I think the artist is trying to communicate, the subtleties of innate feelings that they're trying to express so other people get that awareness of those feelings themselves. So it starts in a place beyond words because there are no words for truly these feelings of consciousness.
And there are no words in colors, too.
Right. And it's like, this is our evolution, is to become more and more attuned to the subtleties of what we're feeling. That's why I think the role of the artist is so important, because they bring forth, beyond any vocabulary, new communications of the subtleties of what it is to be human.
Well, thank you, Alan.
Thank you. You're a great host.
And you're a great guest, well, Too much to learn. Now I have to regroup. Thank you so much.
Well, hopefully your realities are new for you, too.
It's already changed.
Good. Maybe you'll leave a different person. Maybe we'll all be different people. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah. No, do you like, I guess my last question will be, do you like, I mean, I know the answer, but I really want to hear from you. Do you like yourself now than when you were struggling?
No, it's not about liking myself more. I've always loved who I am, but I see each moment is giving me more. So each moment I feel is even better than last moment.
Like you add another richness to your facets.
In every moment I'm trying to do that. I'm not always doing it, to be honest, but I'm trying to add something more. Just by you asking me these questions, I've learned more about myself.
Well, clearly I learned more about myself, too.
Okay, and we learned more about each other.
Thank you again, Alan.
Thank you. This is it. It's us together and alone and separate and together. Thank you. This has been fun.
Thank you for watching Healing Words, and we'll see you next time.
Do, do, do.